Hi guys, just gone 4:30, so just going to run through the movements from today. As you can see, the three charts I've got up at the top here, Euro, DAX and Bund. You can see from the reaction how it is perceived, and we'll run through that as well. Just having a quick look, actually, is catching my eye for those still in-house. The Dow Jones is coming up. I'm just going to get this a bit bigger here before we come back to the ECB and the Euro. Dow Jones, keep an eye on that R1 high of the day, coming up with quite a bit of force. We'll revisit the equities in a minute, of the whole buy the dip. You can see how well the pivot acted there. This morning, quite a quiet range-bound morning as expected, ahead of quite a big release. Nothing too much going on. Data was very low tier, and obviously not really going to have a big impact on things. 12:45. I'm just going to switch over to the, here we go, transition just to the calendar, just to go over things. 12:45. Everything kept the same. Interest rate decision and deposit facility rate, everything unchanged as expected. No real reaction at 12:45. The market perhaps expecting things to be more dovish than expected. Comments out at 1:30 from the press conference suggested otherwise here, and we pushed on pretty much from the get-go at 1:30. It wasn't necessarily anything he said, it was more stuff that he didn't say that perhaps people were expecting. And the Euro, as you can see, pushed on and reached a new multi-year high. The DAX, as you can see from the middle, come down similar time, very strongly breaking the S1 and support level, and the Bund looking very similar in terms of the DAX there as well. So monetary policy, that correlation working pretty well there. So the sort of the opposite of the QE reaction. Draghi didn't really do too much to talk down the Euro. Said they hadn't discussed anything about QE or whatnot. March is going to be the main thing now from there, and any talk of what they may or may not do, and it's really going to be a case of sort of waiting for that. In terms of, let's just make this Euro a bit bigger, of how it did unfold around 1:30. The push above, and let's just mark this down where 1:30 started. Let's get the circle. This candle here, as you can see, just after 1:35. So press conference started around here, pushed higher quite strongly, breaking through the R1. The classic here on the high of the day offered a good trade before finding then resistance around what was the R2 before breaking through. And a similar sort of time when the Euro did pop there, you had the DAX pushing lower, so that correlation worked really well there. Also saying Draghi expects sort of no change to interest rates this year, expects it to remain the same. So no real sort of hawkish comments that came out. So those sort of dovish bets were off. Euro stronger off that. As you can see here, just coming back down to the R2. Price is sort of consolidating now. Wouldn't it be necessarily expecting too much going into the remainder of the day? If anything, we'll probably start to drift back lower or sideways. In fact, we're just pushing down here. Keep an eye on that. Got to imagine that the DAX perhaps is getting dragged higher as well by the US equities. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, as well. So keep an eye, for those still listening. The Dow is just on that R1 now, and NASDAQ the highest it's been for a while post cash open. So obviously that was the main focus today. ECB, not really doing too much to talk down the price. They weren't necessarily hawkish, but it was more that they weren't, or Draghi himself wasn't dovish in his comments. Looking elsewhere at the markets, understandably focus was on Europe and the Euro. Dollar for currencies, and you can see the pound hasn't really done too much. It is up for the day, as the dollar is still weak. It's actually down 0.5% overall. Probably I'm going to attribute that to the fact that the euro makes up such a big percentage of the dollar index, the dollar weighted index, so it's got a big hit from that, from the euro being quite strong. But you can see here a bit of pound weakness, dollar strength perhaps coming into play. I would definitely have this trend line on using these lows. Let's have a look how that lines up. You can see here, look at that, just finding support right on there now for the pound, so we'll keep an eye there. Hasn't really done too much. If we have a quick look over the other currencies before we come back to the equities, see if they can push on. Aussie dollar, similar kind of thing. It went higher in respect to that sort of 130 weaker dollar because of the euro, and then since then it sort of repaired that, and we're now ranging, not doing too much. Dollar yen has continued its recent trend near the lows of the day now. Been quite a choppy market around that S1, and with the data out tomorrow from the US, it could be a bit easier to trade, getting a real direction on that. Aussie dollar as well, pushing higher this morning, coming back down, messy around that 130. Ooh, as you can see here, let me just circle that 130 times. So very similar across all other currency pairs. Ooh, not letting me circle, there you go. We push higher on the weaker dollar because of the euro strength, and then we sort of repair that when, you know, the market sort of effectively realise it's nothing to do with the pound, Aussie dollar, or yen, or whatnot. Oil, as you can see, found resistance on this level up at R2, the highest we've been for a while, so continuing this morning into the early afternoon, the sort of rise we had for this week after quite a big consolidation phase. It's coming back down now, but finding support near what was the overnight low slash yesterday afternoon's high. Nothing really to report in terms of anything that's going to make me change a bias to looking sort of more a sort of ranging market to the upside for now. Equities, we'll quickly run through S&P and get the Dow next to it and Nasdaq, and just flick through those. So you can see S&P pushing high this morning when we went through the overnight high here, pushed on, almost made a new all-time high. Dow Jones, very similar, pushed through the overnight high, and in this case we did make a new all-time high. Nasdaq, same, pushed through overnight high, all at the same time. It's quite a nice move. Volume wasn't necessarily there, I should be saying. And then cash open, everything comes down, and it's sort of the same thing 2 days in a row. Aggressive selling and a nice bounce. S&P, as you can see here, finding support, albeit a little sort of false breakthrough on the low of the day, and we've now pushed back higher. Dow Jones, pivot acting as very good support, and it was for a period looking like it was going to push on through, but those buyers coming in again, and okay, we just made a new all-time high a few minutes ago of a couple of ticks, and let's be honest, that's not going to be the all-time ever high, is it? So I would expect more, whether that comes today or, you know, for tomorrow, the rest of the week, whatever. But same here, Nasdaq, support on that low of the day. Obviously, main story today has been ECB not being dovish. Hence the stronger euro. You've seen on the fact that people were expecting Draghi to perhaps talk the euro down from these high levels that we're at. Other euro-related products. Let's have a quick look over at euro pound, which has, let me put it on 60 minutes, make it easier. Found really nice resistance on that level we talked about earlier, from the low of, what day is it? Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. I guess we just sort of tested that now, so I'll be keeping an eye to see if we can push through, as obviously this pair has come under pressure due to the recent pound strength that we've had. Other equities, having a look at the FTSE, which has just been finding support for now on the S1, but again, yesterday with that big pound move, we finally broke through that area of support on the third time of asking. It was a significant break, and since then it's sort of really continued, but a strong level we're on now. You got the low of the 28th that we had tested a couple times already, so acting as good support for now focus, if you are sticking about for the rest of the day, obviously eyes on the euro, whether anything can sort of happen from there, but I would expect more sort of a consolidation into tomorrow. But yeah, equities, S&P, Nasdaq perhaps to play catch up if the Dow especially pushes on. Data calendar for tomorrow actually looks pretty lively. Have a look here. In the morning, you've got some UK data, the usual slot, 9:30, preliminary GDP, and then you can have a sort of a bit of a lull till 1:30. But you can see here, let me just highlight all of that, just how many releases are coming out, especially for those trading dollar CAD. It's going to be, I mean, almost impossible really to decipher what's actually going on if you were to look at the actual data come out. But just a selection of the things there. You've got durable goods, you've got GDP out in the States, and then inflation data out of Canada as well. So it's going to be a decent afternoon, I would say. Equities, are they going to finish on all-time highs? Most likely. All-time high closes. Is the pound going to continue? Is the weaker dollar going to continue? All sort of questions, I think, that are worthy of paying attention to there. Euro, you've got to imagine the fact that they were not dovish today and the dollar is still weak. You've got to, I mean, prefer the long, ideally from lower down, but you know, the trend is your friend. Any questions in the chat, please ask. Yeah, I've just seen a question, comment in the chat. But yeah, any questions, let me know either email or chat, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. But I hope you have a good evening.